welcome to Switched on IT. I'm Barry, and this is the first show of the 2019 Switched on IT season. If you enjoyed last season's episodes, we have an even bigger and better season for you this year. Our regular hosts, Doug and Ray, will be joining us shortly. SEO, or search engine optimization, is something that's often misunderstood, or at least not well understood. But having good SEO on your website is crucial to people finding you on the web. Now, there are heaps of programs out there that will allow you to easily build your own website, or lots of companies out there that will build them for you. But just having a website is only the start of the journey. If your site is not optimized for Google and other search engines, no one will ever find you. In today's show, Doug and Ray will take you through some of the things that you'll need to do on your site in order for your site to show up in Google searches and for people to find you on the web. Ray has joined us from Washington, D.C., and Doug from Sydney. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good to see you both.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, we're talking about SEO today, so I'll turn this over to you and take it away for us, please.
Thanks, Barry. SEO is always on the forefront of the minds of all our small business customers, worried about lead generation and always wondering how they can improve the effectiveness of their website in lead generation and communicating with their customer base, and most importantly their potential customer base. And of course, that's where search engine optimization comes in, getting found by your prospective customers, through your website. There's a lot of golden rules in there, so I thought we'd start the process, Ray, with your expertise in terms of search engine optimization. We can go back a long time, and people have been talking about things such as the metadata, the load speed, image compression. Let's step through firstly what we regard SEO to encompass, what the key components are, and what's changed in terms of the importance of those various factors.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about SEO in our last season last year. I think it was episode 3, and we covered some of the primary points of what SEO is. And so I think it would be good for us to kind of review that and then talk about what's really important about search engine optimization in 2019 and beyond, because Google certainly has changed how it approaches search engine optimization. And so first and foremost, think of search engine optimization as dating, right? You're kind of flirting with your prospective website visitors, and that's the way in which you can attract people to come to your website. And so think about all of the ways in which you try to attract a person that you want to be attracted to you. You dress well, you speak well, you say nice things to them, and lo and behold, they then become attracted to you. And on the internet, on the World Wide Web, in this particular case, we have to manipulate the data such that it makes it appealing to a person who is searching for the content that we have on our websites.
Absolutely. Okay, so in times past, we've all spoken about making sure that at the end of the day, you have interesting content and you use keywords in a clever way. Has anything about that changed? What is the importance of understanding the keywords for your industry or your product category, and how should you use them in your website?
Yeah, things have advanced remarkably since the last time we had this discussion, in the sense that Google has now kind of exposed us to ways in which they are analyzing the data that's happening on what's called the SERP, the search engine results page. And that's the page in which you go to Google and do a search and then land on a list of results that you can then click on to take you someplace. And that is, and where your websites are found, a business website or any other kind of informational websites are found on the World Wide Web. And so we have a couple of things going on. One is that Google is using something called RankBrain. And this is machine learning technology that in essence is analyzing what people are doing on search engine results page, and then ultimately what people do when they land on a website, especially websites that Google knows something more about than not. And so they can analyze what's considered dwell time. And so dwell time is the amount of some time someone spends on the website once they have clicked on a search result that they found through Google. And so RankBrain, in essence, says is looking at the results page, right? They're looking at the SERP. And if I search for an apple and a couple of options come up, Apple, the computer company, Apple as in Red Delicious apples, and maybe an apple pie and some other items come up, and I click on one of those options, well, Google not only knows that, but now that becomes a ranking signal. It may move maybe a fourth level item, maybe the apple, the Red Delicious apple. It's now going to move that apple up to the top of the search results page, maybe temporarily, or it may be permanent if enough people do that. So what ends up happening with RankBrain is that because machine learning is now doing the job of what used to be an algorithm that was a little bit more static, it's constantly manipulating the search results. So this idea of quote unquote gaming the search results is not really possible anymore, because there are really powerful computers out there that are doing that analysis and synthesis of the data.
Okay, so just so that we're clear on that, RankBrain, in terms of understanding whether to put the Red Delicious apple on, above the rank of the latest Apple iPhone, for example, what are the sort of triggers and factors that would be taken into account, and does it actually relate to Google's tracking of an individual searcher? How does that sort of manifest itself?
Yeah, so Google is pretty tight-lipped about how it's doing some of these things, but what we do understand is that it's analyzing how people are interacting with a site, and if it knows who you are, which for the most part Google knows who the individuals are that are visiting the site, then it is trying to give you, the individual, the best result that it possibly can. So for example, since I'm always logged into my Google account when I'm visiting Google inside the Google Chrome browser, it knows exactly who I am. And so it's able to track that data and give me better results based on my prior searches. And so that's going to obviously be, in Google's eyes, a better result for me because it knows what I've already done. I think that if somebody who's random, say a public library where there may be an internet terminal, that's going to be a little less accurate because many people might come to that computer and type in search terms and get different search results. So that's going to be a little bit less accurate for the individual who shows up at that page.
Yeah, that makes sense. So more sophisticated in terms of the smarts that are sitting behind the search engine, and therefore and you say that it means that trying to game the system is less likely to be successful. So what should our top priorities be in terms of how we structure our content on our website?
Yeah, so it goes back to high quality content and a diversity of content. And so a lot of people tend to think about Google in terms of, especially SEO, in terms of all the ways in which you can, stuff keywords into your page and, properly attune things so that you can really, I call it gaming the system, but it's, you check off all the right boxes, and that's going to make you most optimal for search. And what it turns out to be is that if you create high quality content and that content is properly indexed by Google, then you will be found. And that your challenge is to create more quality content than the competition, which are the other pages on the internet that are optimized for the same keywords. So it's not so much that you shouldn't do the right things of making sure that you have alt tags in your images, which is a little bit of tagging, meta tagging. You talked about metadata. It's a little bit of metadata in the background, but alt tags should truly be alt tags. So for example, people try to game the system by making the alt tag just the keyword term. But an alt tag is actually a web accessibility meta tag such that it should describe the image that's in that you're looking at, because it's for people who are visually impaired. Well, Google can look at those things and say, okay, well, this person's ranking for this image, for this keyword or key phrase, but they're only using that key phrase in the photograph. I don't know if this is the case, but I bet you that they start to penalize websites that are just using the alt tag purely because they know that they can rank better if they just check that box, fill in the alt tag field, and go on with life. When in reality, they can now do image analysis and they can tell you what's in the image. And if the image doesn't represent the alt tag, well, that's going to be a problem for you. So don't try to game the system. Actually do what's necessary to thoughtfully make your website accessible. And if that benefits your SEO, great. If it doesn't, don't try to skirt the rules, because ultimately what you're going to do is make it a poor experience for someone with a visual disability with a screen reader when it reads that alt tag and all it says is the keyword and not actually what's in the image, and it makes no sense to them. And so Google has gotten wind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, good advice.
Looking for exposure for your business or event? Take your business, community event, training seminar, sports fixture, function, concert or exhibition to the world with Power TV Australia and Power FM's unique live outside simulcasts. We can turn your next local event into a worldwide sensation with stunning live pictures, interviews, graphics and live action replays for a fraction of the usual cost. From a festival or sports fixtures to a corporate or charity event, Power TV Australia and Power FM can take your message live to our local and national viewers and listeners. Invite the world to your party by contacting Barry today on 0431 390 920 or email programming@powertvaustralia.com for a quote.
If you've lost your income or had a change of earning capacity through no fault of your own and are struggling with debt that you can no longer handle, you probably feel a bit like this ant. If the struggle is getting you down and you feel overwhelmed, there is an answer. Central Liaison has helped thousands of people break free of the debt struggle by handling their debt for them. Freeze all interest, stop the harassing calls from the bank and start enjoying life again. Call them today on 0409 344 070 for a confidential, obligation-free chat about how Central Liaison can help you take your life back. The number again, 0409 344 070. Call them now.
Is your computer driving you crazy? Is it slow or doing things you didn't expect? Well, having a computer crash or pick up a virus can be a complete nightmare for a business, so having someone local you can trust to get you up and running again is critical. The dedicated team of experts at Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West will put your mind at ease from the moment you walk through the door and will get your problem solved in no time with a 100% guarantee on their work. Laptops, tablets, PCs, whatever you have, Roger and the team can fix it for you. So visit them today at 236 Bridge Street, Newtown. Can't get in to see them? No worries. Just call them on 4642 1331 and they'll come to you. Toowoomba Troubleshooters, Toowoomba West, on the web at www.computertroubleshooters.com.au/Toowoomba West.
Good morning, love to see the sunrise. Morning, good morning, love to see the sunrise. Shooting at the walls of heartache, bang, bang, I am the warrior. Well, I am the warrior. Kevin on the radio.
Yeah.
Driver's seat. Ooh, driver's seat. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's working for the weekend.
Jamming as much variety into your day as possible.
Power
powerfmradio.com.au.
Nice. And what are the other types of meta tags or metadata that we need to use on our website?
Sure. So we have a number of metadata that are in and around the website. You have what's called a title tag, which is in essence the title of the page, the subject of that page. And so your key phrase or keyword should fit in there. So when I say keyword or key phrase, I really just mean keyword would be a single word, and then there are keywords, and I just call those key phrases. I tend to call them key phrases because today people do more searches that are natural language. So how do I do X? How do I tie a full Windsor tie is the more likely search term today than in the past when someone would just type in Apple or VW Beetle. Now people are asking questions. They're asking how to do things, and that's actually a matter for the fact that a lot of people are asking by voice directly into their mobile devices. So people are picking up their phone and saying, to their Google Assistant or to Siri on the Apple system, and they're asking questions. And since they're asking by voice, they're asking it in a more natural language way. Anyway, so we have title. We then have a description. And sometimes we have rich snippets. Rich snippets is a way in which you can lift a little bit of data from the website so that it shows that data in the search engine results page. So you can use rich snippets, and there's lots of really great resources out there for learning how to do rich snippets. Then there is your headings, and so the way in which you structure a document is actually really important. So if your keywords or key phrase appear in the headings of the document, that gives credence to it, and then any other styling in the document. So if you hyperlinked a particular word to another page, that hyperlinked word would appear to be more powerful to the page to which you're linking. So for example, if I have a page about apples and I have a link on the page about apples that says oranges, and oranges links to a page called oranges, that page oranges now gets a little bit of a boost because someone linked to me that said oranges, and that page is about oranges. So this idea of linking back and forth is also really important.
Terrific. And what about things like blogs? Are they, I see everyone's trying to put a blog on their page. What's the role of the blog?
Gentlemen, before you go on to
that. The role of a
that,
blog is producing pages. It's all about increasing the number of pages that Google has to index. And so we actually see a shift there in search engine optimization because there's a requisite number of pages that Google looks for on a website to sort of give it legitimacy. But at some point, it's no longer the number of pages, but the quality of the blog posts that's more important now to Google, because it has noticed that people find that a page that covers everything, that's why you see all of these ultimate guide to X and ultimate guide to Y, because those really long substantive blog posts are very useful to people. And so Google's giving more credence to not less blog posts, but more high quality blog posts, which in essence means that you as a business owner don't need to write as many blog posts as you do writing high quality ones that are encompassing of all the information that someone who lands on your website will need to satisfy that particular want or need.
Ray, can I just ask you a question? I want to take you back to when you were talking about how people are searching and Google's ability to know who's there. One of the things that I'm interested to know, and if you can address this, that'd be good. It's all very nice for Google to be able to say, oh yes, I know what this person's looking for. But what happens with a brand new site that somebody is wanting to look at, and there isn't any data yet? How does that page rank?
Poorly.
So how does it get to rank?
Yeah, there are a number of different ways in which you can start to rank. One is to register yourself through what's called Google Search Console by visiting google.com/webmasters, and webmasters is plural. And when you go to the Google Search Console and register your website there, you have two options. You can register the domain itself, which is all domains and subdomains associated with that, or specific subdomains. So say www.yourbusiness.com is an individual CNAME or subdomain, and you can register those, or you can register just yourbusinessname.com, and that's everything that encompasses your site. And so you register with Google Search Console, and while it's not necessary, mind you, it's not necessary, it is a good practice because you get to have a relationship with Google in terms of telling it what items you have on your website, and you can make sure that it's indexed. And that's through the use of what's called a sitemap. So many times, a lot of the work that's done by, in the name of quote unquote SEO, I see this all the time. Clients come to me, they sit down and they go, we've done all of this SEO on our website. And then I, of course, spin up Google Search Console. I ask them for their credentials to log into Google Search Console, and they've never even put themselves into Google Search Console. So then I run a list of what pages Google has indexed, and it's a very limited number of pages. Google maybe has indexed a couple of their pages when they may have dozens or 100 or more pages. And the reason for that is that Google only finds your page through different means, and it can only see so much of the open web. And so it may find a page that you have on the internet, but on the World Wide Web, but it may not find them all. But through Search Console and submitting a sitemap, you are assuring Google that you have these pages on your site, and they can now go explore them and make sure that they index them properly. And more importantly, if for some reason something changes, you want to update Google so that they know, okay, this is where a website page was, and now this is where it is. And it's like a change of address. Google really, really doesn't like it, because users don't like it when they go to Google and they click on a page and that page no longer exists. So yes. Google heavily penalizes you when you go to a page and that page no longer exists. So by doing those kinds of change of addresses through the use of effective site mapping, Google gives you a benefit. It makes sure that people consistently stay on your site. So that would be the first step. There are many other steps involved, but I think that's the first good step most businesses can use to make sure that if you're brand new, you can get yourself seen by Google and start to get indexed.
Terrific. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So some other questions I've got on SEO. We've spoken in the past about page load speed and image size. Are they still important factors, and what should we be looking out for or doing?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you probably know more about this than I do, hosting your client sites. So page speed is absolutely a critical factor. And what we know is that it's not only a critical factor on the desktop, but even more important on mobile. People, when they're on their mobile devices, are a little bit less forgiving, or maybe they're a little bit more forgiving, but if a site loads slow, they're much more likely to leave that page and try another page that loads faster. So it's really important that your site speed is high, and that's really affected by two different things. One is the server running it and rendering the code, and the power of that server. And then the other side is the code itself, the things that you have under your control. I mean, the person's internet speed is not under your control, but under your control is the server and the code you're running to produce your website. So say if you have a WordPress installation and you have a lot of code that's running before it renders that website, well, if someone's on their mobile device and the server speed is slow and it's rendering a lot of code and that person doesn't see your website very fast and leaves, well, that's likely an issue that you need to deal with. You need to be able to, reduce the amount of code that's run before it provides a web page to the user, or you need to talk to your host about getting a stronger web server account, because many times it's not that the server's not strong enough, it's just that you probably have a shared hosting account with not enough bandwidth, and you need to up the number of bandwidth, nodes or otherwise that are available to the server to be able to push that out. Or maybe you need to get a content distribution network, which is a type of account that allows you to be able to spread your site among many different servers to be able to load it closer to the user and therefore faster. And so what do you do? How do you guide folks, Doug, in terms of when they see their sites loading slowly? What's kind of your first guidance to them in choosing the right server hosting account, web hosting account, and when you see that they have, say, 45 plugins in their WordPress installation that are all running lots and lots of code, and so therefore bogging them down? What recommendations do you typically have?
Look, we have these conversations every day, and it's quite interesting because generally the easiest thing for a website owner to understand is, well, the server must be slow, and their web developers, very often might be a little bit lazy, and they really want to blame the shared hosting service, and we're often in a situation where we're saying to the customer, look, we're happy to put your website on a standalone virtual private server where you've got 100% control over the computer power that is powering your website. But very often we will have run some tests on it, and we use some of some of the more common page load speed tests, such as GTmetrix, the Google page load speed testing capability as well, and we find that the website is actually not consuming a lot of compute power. To your point, they haven't optimized their images. The code has not been particularly well put together. They're using a theme which is incredibly clunky. They've got lots of plugins that are consuming a whole bunch of time. And in one of the page load speed tests that we use, they have what is called a waterfall. So if you then think about every component part of the website that actually has to be loaded into, if I'm the guy at the other end, I just want to load the page of this page of the website, then that waterfall will show me every component part that my browser has to upload and process before it can show me the page. And that is always incredibly enlightening, because that is when you realize that in actual fact, if you look at it this way, that the browser has actually got a task to do. And before it can load the page, there could be, and this is a common number, about 150 to 250 different component parts have to be compiled in the browser in sequence, in a very specific order. And so that is just all to do with the speed of, basically the speed of the electrons going back and forth. This process has to execute, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and all that adds up to a number. And it really doesn't matter whether you've got 16 gig of RAM behind it or half a gig of RAM. If it's not actually testing the available RAM because there's adequate RAM, then adding a virtual private server just adds to the cost, but will add nothing to the page load speed. So we're often in that sort of funny situation where we're saying to the customer, you don't need to spend any more money with us. You need to go back to the developer and have a bit more of a thorough conversation about all the component parts that are being loaded. You might have one of those slideshows, which are, again, if they've got big images, just loading a slideshow plugin can consume a hell of a lot of resources on the browser side. So we're lucky in the sense that we can always offer the customer a virtual private server. That's a much better commercial equation for us. but it's an interesting conversation, because very often it's developers who maybe don't have the competence and the capability in optimizing the website code itself that we're hosting, and the easy solution is to look at the hosting provider, when that's often a pretty barren, place to go for increased speed.
For a new slant on local television, you can't go past the Power TV network. Catch up on all the latest local news, sport, events and entertainment on Toowoomba's own online television station, Power TV Australia, home of the TRL Footy Show. Find us at powertvaustralia.com or take us with you wherever you go by downloading the Power TV Australia app. Discover a whole new world of entertainment at Power TV Australia. Celebrate 100 years of rugby league in Toowoomba with the TRL's exclusive radio and TV call team. Join Obi, Cookie, Nev, George and Kelvin every Saturday from 5:30pm for the Toowoomba Sports Club Match of the Day, live on powerfmradio.com.au/special events. On Sunday, the team's back with the Power FM Hutchies Match of the Round from 1:30pm on Power FM 88 Toowoomba and online at powerfmradio.com.au/special events. You can now watch the game of the week with all the action, including instant replays of every try, at 8 o'clock Sunday night on Power TV Australia. Take the footy with you wherever you go by downloading the Power TV Australia app for both Power FM and Power TV Australia.
Oz Hosting is proud to support Switched On IT in bringing practical help to Australian businesses. We're talking to literally hundreds of businesses every day about their IT services, how to make them more efficient, how to make their businesses more efficient, and how to protect their valuable data. If you'd like your IT services securely hosted right here in Australia and expertly managed, talk to Oz Hosting.
Hutchies lives here. We're locals, just like you. To us, construction is really about people, not just bricks and concrete. It's people who bring our structures to life and build communities. We stick by the people who make communities. From Toowoomba Rugby League to RACQ Lifelight Rescue Service, Milne Bay Military Challenge, and the Toowoomba Tennis International, Hutchies is proud to back the people who support the region.
Most definitely, and I think you make some really important points, which is that there are image compression tools out there. For example, there's imagecompressor.com, where you can upload images to those sites, and what they do is they strip out all of the detritus from that image so that it still looks good to the web visitor, but it's taken out a lot of the weight in the background of the site, and so therefore you get an image that might be 64, sometimes 70 or 80% smaller. You upload that to your site now, and instead of having this very large image that now needs to download, not just on a desktop but on a mobile device, is now much smaller. So there are little things you can do that can really speed up the site, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. And I think that, again, search engine optimization is a tedious process, because it's making sure you're doing the right things for the environment from which you're hosting your account. So you might have 45 plugins, and all of those plugins might provide the appropriate resource management, and you never have a problem. But then once in a while, you might have one plugin that you install, and it becomes a resource hog, and now it's weighing down, say, your WordPress website. So you have to be very judicious and studious about what things you put on your website and what kinds of resources they're taking from your web hosting account so that it renders your site quickly. But yeah, I think GTmetrix is a great tool for people to use to not only see what your site's doing, but also then looking at the water flow as well as YSlow to see the reasons why your site might be not operating as quickly or peppy as you'd like it to be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to.
I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Content distribution networks. So we mentioned GTmetrix, which is a brand. There's also one that we commonly enable for our customers is Cloudflare. So there's a free Cloudflare service, which is a CDN, the way a CDN works is that it essentially caches the major pages of a website. Perhaps it might even cache all of them, and then it uses compression technology and network technology such that when a visitor types in the name of that website and clicks on the major navigation tabs in that site to visit the most popular pages, the Cloudflare CDN is actually the infrastructure that is serving up those pages. It's not actually being served up by your website hosting company. And that is generally a terrific test of how effective the website code is, because in that sort of situation, you've removed any real sort of server speed barrier from the equation, and it really all comes down to how effectively that particular page of that website has been put together. So we do recommend people use a CDN. If it's an e-commerce site, then it's a paid service. But we think that using a CDN in certain circumstances is good value. A lot of the time for small websites which haven't got large images or anything like that, then it's not going to make a lot of difference.
Yeah, and I love Cloudflare and make sure that all of my clients know to implement that out the gate. It's such a great service, and they provide it for free. So
yeah,
at least for basic websites. I mean, that's once you go beyond the basic, it's probably best that you pay. And certainly, as you said, with e-commerce, I wanted us to close out our conversation talking about multimedia and the importance of multimedia, and specifically to what maybe some people don't recognize as being the next wave of search engine optimization. At least in this episode, I know that in the next episode, we're going to continue this conversation and talk about some other types of SEO. But I wanted to talk with you, Doug, about specifically audio, video, and other kinds of multimedia search engine optimization. And so first, do you listen to podcasts?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, there you go. See, and what we know is that many more people are starting to listen to podcasts. And remarkably, Google last year announced that they would start to not only index podcasts, but they are going to be able on mobile devices. When you do a search for a podcast, it now displays that podcast on the Apple iPhone. You're going to see that in your Google application when you do a Google search, and if you're using an Android phone, it's going to show up wherever you search because it's baked in. But you'll now see a podcast player for the podcast that is being searched for and found. And so this is really sophisticated technology that allows you as a business owner that if you decide to launch some kind of audio program or podcast, if it has an RSS feed and Google can find it, you'll now be able to not only play. It's a lightweight player that's built directly into the search system. It's really, really phenomenal. It's not going to be your power podcast app. It's not going to be Apple Podcasts or Overcast or one of these kinds of applications, but it gives the user the ability to play a podcast directly from Google search. That's just really, really fundamentally a new way to be found that wasn't able to be done in the past. So optimizing to have your podcast found via Google search is now a whole new part of the ecosystem. And when you go to watch a video, where do you go to watch videos on the internet, Doug?
I tend to go to a place like YouTube if I'm not at home watching, Netflix or Big Pond or something like that.
Well, you're also very typical of every human on the planet who's connected to the internet. And that's the point, is that YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the world. That's what really keeps it as a part of Google. YouTube is owned by Google. YouTube being the second largest search engine in the world keeps Google the largest search engine in the world, and it's a video search engine. And so it's really important for you and your business website to be found not just on Google, but also now on YouTube. And so optimizing video is its own world, its own topic. Maybe we'll do someday, but just be aware that doing some minor optimization just like the title of your page, the title of your video matters, right? It should contain your keyword or key phrase. The description underneath your video should have your keyword or key phrase. And you can put links in YouTube back to your own website. And what I see a lot of people doing, and I don't particularly like this, is that they will use Bitly or another URL shortener, and they'll put that link into the description, and that will link back to your website. And I say don't do that, because that's not helping you. You can paste links that are really long in YouTube, and it will paste it just fine. You want to be able to paste links that are your domain back to your website where appropriate. For example, if I write a blog post and I say, everything there is to know about search engine optimization in 2019, and then I record a YouTube video about that, and I want to embed that on my website, well, I need to first optimize it on YouTube and make sure that I link back to the blog post on which it lives. And so I would paste that full URL, mywebsite.com/ultimate guide to SEO in 2019, paste that and say, by the way, I wrote this whole article about this topic, and this video lives also on that page. And guess what? Now I have a link back to my website from YouTube, and that if that YouTube video ranks well, guess what? That's going to give me a lift on my blog post and help, rising tides lift all boats, right? And so that lift by YouTube and the YouTube algorithm now gives credence to my blog post, and that helps my web traffic as well. So we want to basically make all of those things properly optimized. Like I said, we could go into the video optimization, for days, but just be aware of the same kinds of things really make a difference in your video optimization as it does in your website page optimization. And don't forget PDFs. PDFs are indexable pages. And so if you are trying to be found, not a lot of people are angling to be the PDF found on the internet, and that can actually be to your benefit. If you're producing short ebooks, things that are maybe 5 or 10 pages long, or checklists of that kind, you can create really unique, valuable content and produce them as PDFs on your website and upload them, and those will be indexed by Google if they're in the sitemap, and therefore be able to be found. So you might be able to optimize for content that is a PDF. For example, sometimes I will go to a website and I will search specifically for PDFs on a site, because I know that site has PDFs, and I want to be able to take that document offline to consume it. And so I will visit that website in looking for the PDF content. And now it's up to you as the PDF producer, the publisher of that PDF, to make sure that your PDF includes proper sales material and proper sales content, because I'm now no longer at your website. The PDF is your website to me, and I'm taking it offline. So you need to make sure that you have the right sales method built into it if you're going to use PDF optimization as the way to get search traffic. So just keep that in mind, that each modality has its own sales associated with it. So audio, for example, if you have a podcast, you're talking to a human, right? They're listening to your podcast. So your sales methodology needs to be built into the audio. And same thing with video, and same thing with PDF. Know how to appropriately, you don't have to be do poor sales techniques. Good sales, good quality, good value, and people will buy from you.
Very good advice. That's a lot of content that the poor old website owner has got to pull together. Well, look, I think we're probably at the top of the dial time-wise, and I think we should wrap up session 1 of our SEO, and let's get together next time for session 2 on mobile optimization.
Ray Sidney Smith and Doug Endersby, thank you for those insights into what website owners need to do to get found on Google. Now, if this session has raised questions that you'd like answered, please feel free to contact us on our contact page on Power TV Australia, or send us an email to programming@powertvaustralia.com, and we'll try to answer your questions in a future show. On next week's show, Doug and Ray will discuss how SEO works for mobile websites and share with you some of the tricks for making sure that your mobile site works well. Until next time, this has been Barry for Switched On IT. Take care.